Aloha, everyone. I'm Dr. Chuck Spezzano from Hawaii, and welcome to the Earth Keepers Conference. I would like to share with you that we are about to go on an adventure. So I'd like to share a few ideas, but also to give you some methods that to help the earth working from the inside out. I'm a doctor of counseling psychology. I've been doing this healing work for over 52 years now. And I began with a caseload working for the US Navy in drug rehab that was so big that we had to find ways to get better. And so I studied hypnosis back in 1974. 1975, but by 1975 I had given it up because it was too slow, and I found a way that could get into the subconscious and then the unconscious so much quicker. So we may venture into those places. For about 7 years now, I predicted that these collective shifts that are going on that include global warming, that include the war that's going on, that includes the pandemic, and it seemed like there was going to be this great upthrust from the unconscious mind from the collective unconscious for us all to deal with. And so it's important to know what to do to work with it. Now, a key thing for yourself is to get over any fear you might have. So just ask yourself, what fear do you have about the earth or about the war or about the pandemic or about any of these things? Because fear freezes you, it paralyzes you. And basically, you could find any answer just by going forward, just by that willingness, just by remembering who walks with you as you move into the future. My wife and I developed a model of psychology that we called psychology of vision. And it's the original idea of psyche, the soul, and the study of the soul. So it is a transpersonal or spiritual psychology, because as I studied the steps to oneness, what I found was that as we go forward, our life becomes more spiritual. It's all about happiness. It's all about love. It's all about joining instead of acquiring or competing or beating someone out. And that at the bottom of every problem, there's a relationship problem. So there's so much that you could do by healing your relationships, because that is what is creating pollution. It's like our minds are connected with all minds. And so what happens with us goes out to the world. So if you have peace inside you, it radiates out. If you're bringing happiness or love into the world, it makes a major difference. And to do what is necessary to keep this energy flowing through you and to extend it to others, to bless them. One of the things that A Course in Miracles talks about that's the real author of suffering is that we judge. We separate, we go, that's not me, that's bad. And basically what we've done is we've attacked. Now, if you could change your mind from attacking to blessing, from attacking to hearing what's going on out there as a cry for help, then you could, always move toward what's going on outside. If there's something missing in the world, if there's something missing in your life, one of the deep dynamics is that there's something that you're not giving. Now, I'm not talking about sacrifice, which is false giving. That's doing but not receiving. Giving and receiving go together. So give up all thoughts of sacrifice. because actually it's a form of withdrawal. You do things, but you don't give yourself. When you give yourself, things work. You know, if you're in a deadness in your relationship, there's something you're not giving, and there's something you could give. If you're in a fight, there's something you're not giving that you could give to solve the problem. Because giving heals fear. It also heals guilt. So one of the things that you could do for the planet, as our mind is connected with the planet, it's connected with everyone, is forgive yourself. How much self-attack do you have? This affects everyone. It raises your stress level. Could you put on the altar of truth, which is a healing metaphor, could you put any self-attack on the altar of truth? Could you put any self-hatred or self-loathing on the altar of truth? Because your self-love is the fuel by which your relationships work. It's the fuel by which your success works. And every relationship outside you shows you your relationship to yourself and also your relationship to heaven, whatever you consider that to be. So if you can forgive yourself, if you can give others, this really helps you, helps your life to bring happiness and abundance and all of these things. But it helps the world. I have used a mother's mind to help her wounded daughter, who was 6, 7 years old. All our minds are connected. Our minds are connected with the earth. So what you do today to bring healing, and it shows by how happy you are. Because when you're happy, you're just, could you be a plague of happiness? Could you be a pandemic of love? Can you move that out to the earth? That's what's needed today. To people who are willing to commit themselves to do their healing, to do whatever they are called to do for the planet or for any specific person. Because in the realm of oneness, the realm of heaven, everyone is you. And everything you give to another, you give to yourself. So all of the people that you have grievances toward, that's creating pollution on the earth. If you could forgive them, there's one exercise that I really love. It's the person you think of that has committed the unforgivable sin. Who in your life do you think has committed the unforgivable sin against you? Now, I have studied problems from stem to stern, from the subconscious and the unconscious, and what's going on spiritually. And it has helped me to help people to get out of their victim situations. Because what I found deep in the mind is that our victim situations are by choice. They're for revenge. Just like failure is for revenge. So, what are you called to do? It could be as simple as becoming peaceful. It could be as simple as giving to someone who's calling for your help. It could be as simple as forgiving someone. Everyone you see reflects your past. So all of your old relationships and all of those old partners that you still have grievances toward, that's holding up your relationship now. So you can go back there and you can say, what is it they needed? I have that gift inside. You may have been trying to get that from them, but you're the one with the gift. We're not meant to be in any kind of situation of deprivation. And the earth is in deprivation. We're in a lack of balance. We're in a lack of partnership. Buckminster Fuller, many years ago, American scientist, genius scientist, discovered that there wasn't a lack of resources on the earth, that there was no food problem for our population. What there was a political problem, was a distribution problem, was a failure to see everyone as our brother and sister. What wouldn't you do for your best friend? What wouldn't you do for your brother or sister? We are at an important time. We could have faith, use the power of our mind. Back in 1984, I was being trained by a kahuna here in Hawaii. And at the end of that training, she initiated me as a kahuna, which is unheard of for somebody who wasn't from Hawaii and had studied this all my life. But I've had many ancient memories of being here as a medicine man in Hawaii. And one of the things she taught me was how to work on the weather. It's the power of your mind. Okay, let's take a look spiritually. We are as God created us. We were made in His image. How much power is that? It's zero limits. So when you see some bad weather approaching, to use the power of your mind to change the weather, to see it differently, to know it, to feel it differently, to forgive the weather, to let go of anything you've been holding on to that is creating this imbalance. Because the weather is a reflection of the consciousness of the earth. And we are out of balance, folks. Twice I was in Taiwan, and there were super typhoons coming, level 5 and level 5 plus typhoons. And I was in a workshop. I was teaching a workshop at both of those times. And we practiced some of the things that I discovered about changing the weather, like forgiving it. Like imagining that you could pull back, like the weather was a big masquerade costume and it was hiding someone or something you hadn't forgiven. And to forgive that. Underneath the person that you feel has committed the unforgivable sin, there's a number of purposes to any negative thing in our life. But underneath it, we have used that grievance to hide where we feel we have committed an unforgivable sin. So we can blame and grievances and judgment hide guilt. Forgive yourself. It was just a mistake. What I have found is that the belief in guilt and sin has created some of the most destructive patterns on the earth. When you feel bad, which is guilt, you do bad things. In 1975, I once worked with a man who was going to go kill a staff sergeant on the floor I worked with, and he was my client. And I just come back from lunch, and I heard all this noise at the end of the hall, and they said, "You got to go get your man. He's tearing up the back room." And I went back there, and he was throwing down lockers, and he was tearing up beds and mattresses. So I went to the other side of the room, and I started pulling down lockers and tearing up, beds and mattresses and box springs and throwing them around. And after 5 minutes, he looked across the room. He said, "Spezzano, what the fuck are you doing?" I said, "Well, you're my client, If you need to do this, I'm just going to help you." So that was just what I needed to talk to him. And he wanted to kill the staff sergeant because he had felt guilty because he had been a drug dealer in Mexico. And somebody had ripped him off, which means a death sentence if you're that weak. So he had to go deal with that. And he ended up killing the man. And the guilt was still inside him. And when you have that much guilt, you pull away from life, killing yourself, or you go to kill another person. This is how a serial killer is made. So we got him to understand the situation. We got him to forgive himself. And all of a sudden, I had made a bet with him that, if you don't see him as one of the best people on this floor at the end of the month when you leave, then I'll owe you a dinner. But if you see him as one of the best people on the floor, then you owe me a dinner. I think that'll probably happen next lifetime. But, it's like he had to admit that he loved the guy when he could really see who it was. We don't see people when we have grievances. We see our judgments. We see our past. We see our grievances. So many times when people have a grievance with one of their parents, which is so powerful, because your father represents success and money, and your mother represents love and nurturing and relationships. And so sometimes we go back through the past, clearing this life, and then we go back to other pasts, and then we go back to ancestral patterns. What I found back in 1975 is that we promised we would save our ancestors. Do you know how powerful that is? Do you know how redeeming that is? Do you know what that could do to release the earth of all this past? Because the present problems are from the past, and these collective problems are from the ancient past. These are ancient wars. These are ancient, unrest on the earth, ancient bad weather, but actually bad consciousness, because that's what the earth is reflecting back to us. What I found in the unconscious is that the world is our mirror. It's mirroring our mind. And if we change our mind, we could change the world. One of the lines that I love from A Course in Miracles says, if you but change your mind about yourself, you could save the whole world. I've worked in the depths of people's minds in so much pain that I could barely stand to be with them as they cried their heart out, as I cried my heart out, to reach them, to know that they weren't alone. Because you can only be in hell if you're alone. So let me ask this question, because this is a really deep unconscious one, but it's real easy. How many selves do you have in hell? How many selves do the people around you have in hell? You could ask for Christ, Mother Mary, Buddha, Kuan Yin. They all come at your call because they're in oneness, and they want you to remember that you're in oneness, that you're in heaven, that you're in love, and we have a long ways to go. But imagine now that you could ask this spiritual team to come and rescue you, to pull you out of hell and purify you. And then to have the angels bring that divine love to you so much that all of these selves that have been in hell grow up to wholeness at your present age. And that all the wires that were cut, because you condemned yourself. Yeah, it may look like other people condemned you, but it was your projection. You condemned yourself, and you can forgive yourself now. So if you forgive yourself, it helps. It reconnects wires in your heart, your mind, and your body. Yeah, I work with people with catastrophic illness all the time. And it's their guilt, and it's their fear of going on to the next step. And other things going on inside there. Broken relationships, old revenge. You can change that. As you change your mind, it changes the world. So these are things that you could do. These are things where you can make a difference. It's healing the world from the inside out. I know you're going to hear a lot of brilliant people share a lot of brilliant ideas today. But remember, you know, if you want peace in the world, start with you. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me is the name of an old hymn. You are needed. Lily Tomlin once said, I wish somebody would do something about that. And then she realized, oh, I'm somebody. You're somebody. You can do it. Your mind has deep within itself, has the power of all minds, has the power of God himself, because that's how you were created. He extended himself. He didn't separate you into all these little pieces. He didn't make sin or death. How could love make death? So you want to find yourself. You want to find that light in you, that power in you, the power of your mind, that shamanic power that moves into spiritual power. Because it's happier. It's more loving. It's more fun. You know, you get to have a more outrageous life instead of one where you're living by all these rules that are built on old guilt. Find the truth. Find true giving instead of rules. Share your heart. Share yourself. This is our opportunity. We are not here by accident. I've heard hundreds of people complain about, I didn't want to be here. I got sent here. This was not what I wanted, somehow. But every time I've taken them down to see where they made the choice. First of all, because they wanted to get something from the world. And second of all, because there was this sacred promise, this purpose, this sacred mission, that they had come to help in some way, to contribute something that only they could contribute. And once you're being as happy as you can, and you're healing as much as you can, and you're making that personal contribution, then you realize, I want to help the earth. As you open up a gift inside you, the thing that really anchors it in, the thing that really nails it in your mind that you have this gift, is you share it with someone. You help someone. This transpersonal psychology that my wife and I made, our motto is friends helping friends. Because one time about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I was praying. I was walking in my hallway back there, walking to my office, and I go, what could help the world? And I heard the voice. Now, when you hear the voice, you tend to wake up and listen. And I said, what could help the earth? It said, an idea. I said, what idea could help the whole earth? And the voice said, an idea that everyone could get behind. You know, and I looked out at the world, I said, what idea could everyone get behind? And the words came in very clearly. Friends helping friends. So what if we saw everyone as our friend? The ego is political. It wants to compete. It wants to dominate. It wants to be better. And if it can't do that, it'll go into submission. That's what needs to be changed to an ethic of sharing and cooperation. We have all the resources we need. Buckminster Fuller proved that. We just have political issues. But if we shared, if we saw everyone as our brother and sister, everything could change. It's a new attitude. It's an attitude of partnership. Not everyone wants to be a leader, but everybody does want to be a good friend. So, help yourself, help your friends, help the earth, help our Mother Earth. She needs us. Thank you.